Welcome back to the Block Treasure Repair YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be building a NAS. Now we're going to build a pretty basic NAS just for my home use here. And we're going to be doing it with some stuff that I already had. Specifically, this 3040 small form factor, which is where the first issue came into. This only has one drive bay for a 3.5-inch drive. And I picked up two 8TB 3.5-inch drives, which obviously will not fit in this case. So that's where I ran into my first issue. Was what I'm going to put it into. I thought about taking the guts out of the Dell and putting it in a normal computer case that I picked up on the side of the road a while ago, but that really wouldn't work properly because the Dell motherboard doesn't have a standard mount, so it wouldn't mount properly. So I ended up just 3D printing a case for this. It's a 25-hour-long print, and it's got a few hours left to go, so we're going to have to wait on that. But let's pop this bad boy open because we have to do a few more modifications. Inside here we have our NVMe boot drive, and we have our one hard drive bay. There's technically a 2.5 under here or a DVD disc. I believe you can put either or, but again, that's not going to fit our two 3.5-inch drives. So this is going to have to go, and we're going to have to replace it. Though I got to pull this front cover off, just like that. That's not going to be going in here. I'll probably put it back. We have enough SATA ports. We have a total of 3 SATA ports, one white one. I'm not 100% sure why it's white. We'll just use the two that match. And, of course, only one power cable. So that's going to be an issue. And that's where our modifications come into play. Now, to solve this power issue, you normally just get a SATA power splitter. I don't have one of those, but I do have a lot of random parts. So let's go searching. So, while I don't have SATA power splitters, I do have Molex, the two SATAs. So, I think we're going to do some sketchy stuff to get our two, SATA powers. Won't have our 3.3 volts, but that'll be fine. I mean, really, what drives even use 3.3 volts? So I think one of these will work. There's multiples in here. Okay. There we go. Is this sketchy? Abso-frickin-lutely it is. But will it work? Probably. Now I need to route our two SATAs and our two SATA power out of the case to get to our drives that are going to have to be mounted externally. Looks like maybe we could punch out the Dell logo. I see it actually rotates for horizontal and vertical mounting. That's pretty cool. But I think our easiest solution is going to be to punch out the DVD drive cover. And there we go. As you can see, we got the wires routed out the front here. Not the most elegant, but again, functional. We're not going for any style points here. But I think now, honestly, we're done inside the Dell, so we can just slap the cover back on it. And a few hours later, we have this. This is a custom enclosure I designed for 2 hard drives. Surprisingly, I couldn't find one on Thingiverse that I liked, so I had to design my own, which means hopefully it fits. I don't actually know. I haven't tested it yet. As you can see, my Ender 5 apparently needs some adjustments, but the Ender 3 printed this like an absolute champ, so let's slap some hard drives in this thing and see if anything fits. And nothing fits. Yup, that sure as hell does not fit. Thank you very much, person I copied on Thingiverse, for, again, the screw measurements. I have had absolutely horrendous luck copying people's designs. I'm going to stop using people's designs on Thingiverse if they're going to keep designing shit. First, that Raspberry Pi mount a few weeks ago where the screw holes were majorly off. They're like 15% off of where they should be. And now this, I use the height and everything from somebody else's mount, and yeah, they're nowhere close. Thank you very fucking much. So, let's figure out what we're gonna do here. Conveniently, though, I think if I cut out this bar here in the middle, I'll have enough room to squeeze these drives in. Won't have this plate in between the two drives, but hey, more ventilation, I guess. It didn't exactly go as planned. I'm gonna redesign this and reprint it, but I honestly don't know if I have enough filament for it right now, so we're gonna assemble it with this and see if I need to change anything else a while. Well, it looks like my cover would have worked, but yeah, I kind of mounted them like this because, well, as you can see, they're, well, right up against each other. This is far too tight. There is not enough room for those drives to breathe whatsoever, so I'm going to have to completely redesign this and scale it up basically in every direction. So, for now, I'm just going to use this to see if this will boot. It'll at least hold the hard drives in a place where they shouldn't short out against anything, so let's see if this wants to work. But again, we're going to reprint this. Now for an OS, we're going to be running HexOS, so that's what I've installed. And of course, our first issue is one drive's not being detected, so I've disconnected one so we can try and figure out which drive is the problem child. Okay, so it's the drive on the left that's not responding. I've put in a different SATA power cable. If this doesn't work, we'll switch the SATA cables, and if this one still doesn't come alive, then, well, I guess we might have the dead drive. Yep, I guess I was right. It was that SATA power adapter. We have both 8TB drives detected, and we have our 15 gigs of RAM. Okay, it's missing a gig of RAM. I don't know if it's reserving that for something, but odd. We'll take it. Now, I know I'm not going to have the best setup. It's just 2 drives, so if one fails, I don't lose any data, but I also only have 8TB worth of storage. Ultimately, if both fail, then I'm kind of screwed, but I also don't store anything that important, to be honest, that isn't backed up elsewhere. So 2 drives is fine for now. Eventually, probably I'll expand with probably even bigger drives or just plenty more of them so I can get a better setup, but this should be good, again, for a temporary, just kind of a personal use setup. I'm tired of just kind of transferring stuff. Right now, my NAS, quote-unquote, is a 1 terabyte drive that I have connected to one of my computers that is just accessed by the network. So it's not the best setup, and I'd like to at least have somewhat of a somewhat safe drive to actually store stuff on. Now, what really sold me on HexOS is image. The amount of hours I spent trying to install an image server, I don't want to admit because it's embarrassing, because I don't know what I'm doing. It took me way too damn long. This, took a button click. This is ridiculous. This is the reason I immediately went out and bought the early access to the beta when it was $100, because this is insane, the fact that I can just one-click install this when I spent, again, an embarrassing amount of time trying to do so. Okay, so attempt 2 at the print is slightly different. As you can see, instead of just a weird vent hole there, I put an actual spot for a 40mm fan. Ignore the dirt, I was just working on a Jeep. But this thing suffered many a tragedy during the prints. First off, we, had a corner lift up from the bed, and then also the filament got tangled on itself and choked itself out for a little bit, and then somehow didn't fail. I'm not sure how it revived itself, but it did. Till about here, where I ran out of filament, and then I was able to modify the G-code to continue finishing this print, but it is finished. And let's see if we can at least fit this stuff. Maybe I'll glue that, maybe it'll just be stiff enough once the drives are in. As for the measurements, I made it 1mm deeper, 1mm wider on each side, so technically 2mm wider, and then 5mm on each drive bay higher, plus then the 3mm divider in the middle. So it's a lot higher, and all around it should be a little bit more space for those drives to actually breathe. That's much better. There's so much more room for that drive to actually breathe. I'm not sure how much air my fan's gonna push through, but I think it's a thought that counts, right? Now, the lid still hasn't finished printing yet, but once that prints, we'll make sure that fits as well. But this feels like a nice little chunk. Let's see if we can get this fan to work. At least we'll be able to pass some fan over the one. We'll see. This might let some air through, it might not. Ultimately, again, it's the thought that counts. Now, I'm debating whether or not I want the air being blown in or being sucked out. The only reason I'm leaning towards being sucked out is because then the fan gets mounted this way, and this is the side facing out, and it's somewhat protected compared to this side. So I think that's what we're going to do. There we go. Now we just have to wait for that lid to finish, or front plate, and this will be done. All right, so we got our cover printed and screwed on. It works. We got perfect slots for our power cables, all that fun stuff. The fan I have on here is rather loud. It's some random junk fan I had laying around. Probably should get like a Noctua or something to quiet that down a little bit, but we're going to shove this in a closet basically and never look at it again, hopefully. Well, until we need to expand it. But before we do that, I got to run some Ethernet. And there we go. We have the thing set up, running in a closet. As you can see, I've filled up a bit of it. Not too much, though. And there we go. Oh, shit. We are using a full gigabyte a second in. That is incredible. I'm transferring like 600 gigabytes to it right now. But as you can see, I can now access it anywhere on my network. Absolutely amazing, even on my Windows 10 Macintosh 512K. But if you like what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. I don't usually do this kind of stuff. I usually work on slightly older electronics, but you gotta have somewhere to store backups. I mean, for legal reasons, not backups of all of these games.